You keep going back there, not because you want to, but because something in your mind won't let it go. A conversation from years ago, a decision that still sits wrong, a moment you keep turning over, looking for the thing you missed. And the strange part is, you know it's over. You know that moment is done. But your mind doesn't seem to know that. It pulls you back, again and again, like it's trying to solve something that can't be solved. You replay it. You arrive somewhere that feels almost right, and then you have to start over. And you're not alone in this. Buddhism has understood this pattern for a very long time, and what it found might change how you see your own mind. That's what we're going to look at today. And you felt this, that pull toward the past, not out of nostalgia, but out of something that still feels unfinished. Something your mind keeps circling back to, as if the right amount of thinking will finally put it to rest. Buddhism has a word for this, papan. It's a Pali term that means mental proliferation. The mind's tendency to take a single moment and expand it, replay it, layer it with interpretation, and then replay it again with the new layer included. It's not remembering. It's more like the mind getting caught in its own echo. The Buddha described the untrained mind this way. He said, it is like water in a bowl that has been shaken. It cannot reflect anything clearly. It only shows distortion, and that's what past thinking often is. Not a clear view of what happened, a distorted reflection that keeps shaking every time you try to look at it clearly. You think you're finally seeing it correctly. Then something new surfaces, a detail you'd forgotten, an emotion you hadn't accounted for, and the whole thing tilts again, and you have to start over. And you know this feeling. You've been here before. The thinking doesn't bring resolution. It brings more thoughts. And underneath all that overthinking, there is something quieter, something the mind is actually trying to do. Here's what Buddhism understands about this pattern that most modern approaches to self-help completely miss. The mind isn't going back to the past because it wants to suffer. It's going back because it genuinely believes there's still something there that can protect you. Think about it this way. The memory that keeps surfacing, the moment you can't stop replaying, was probably painful in some specific way. A loss you didn't see coming. A failure that cost you something real. A relationship that ended in a way that didn't make sense. A version of yourself that did something you still can't fully explain. And your mind, in its way, is trying to make sure that doesn't happen again. So it goes back. It looks for the moment you could have done something differently. It looks for the signal you missed. It constructs a better version of events. One where you say the right thing, or you see clearly, or you make the choice that would have changed everything. This is the mind doing what it thinks is its job, keeping you safe, preparing you, trying to learn something that will keep you safe. But here's what it doesn't understand. The past cannot be changed, and no amount of reviewing it will extract new protection from it. The mind is trying to solve a problem that is no longer solvable. It's searching for a door in a room that no longer exists. Buddhism calls the deeper force behind this tanha, usually translated as craving or thirst. But it's not always craving for something pleasant. Sometimes it's craving for a different past, a craving for the moment to have gone another way, a craving for a version of events that never existed and can never exist. And that craving, like all craving, generates its own particular kind of suffering. Not because the original event was terrible, though sometimes it was, but because the craving for it to be different keeps you locked in a loop that has no natural exit point. The mind keeps searching for closure inside something that is already closed, and that's where it gets harder. There is something else worth sitting with here, something that makes this pattern harder to break than most people realize. The past that your mind keeps returning to is not just a memory. It is often a place where you feel most like yourself. Think about that for a moment. The moment you keep replaying, even if it was painful, even if it was a failure, even if it was something you're ashamed of, that moment is yours in a way that the present often doesn't feel. Because the present is uncertain. The present requires you to be open to what comes next. And what comes next is unknown. The past, for all its weight, is at least familiar. You know how the story went. You know the shape of it. And there is a strange comfort in that, even when the shape is painful. Buddhism calls this kind of attachment upadana, clinging, and it can attach itself not just to pleasant things, but to painful ones too. Because what the mind is actually clinging to is not the pain itself. It is the sense of knowing, the sense of having ground beneath your feet, even if that ground is made of something difficult. Let that sit for a moment, because when you see this clearly, the question changes. It's no longer, why can't I stop thinking about this? It becomes, what am I looking for that I haven't found yet? And that question, asked honestly, opens something different. Maybe what you're looking for is understanding, the sense that you finally grasp why it happened. Maybe it's self-forgiveness, the permission to have done what you did and still be someone worth being. Maybe it's closure that the other person never gave you, an acknowledgement that never came, an apology that never arrived. And if that's what it is, then the loop isn't irrational. It's trying to get you something you genuinely need. It just can't get it through thinking. Because understanding, as Buddhism sees it, doesn't come from more analysis. It comes from a different quality of attention. Not the turning over and over kind, but the kind that can hold something still long enough to really see it. Not through the lens of what you should have done, not through the lens of what it says about you, just what happened and what is true now. That kind of seeing requires spaciousness, and spaciousness is exactly what the loop doesn't have. And there's one more layer to this that Buddhism points to very directly. The self that is doing the reviewing, the you that keeps going back to examine what happened, is not a fixed witness. It's also changing. Every time you return to the memory, you bring a slightly different version of yourself to it. Different mood, different context, different fears, different needs. And because you are different, the memory looks different, which feels like you're finally getting somewhere, which feels like this time you're getting it right. But what's actually happening is you're seeing the same incomplete picture through a constantly shifting lens. The memory doesn't have more information to give you. You have just changed the angle again. This is one of the more quietly devastating realizations that Buddhist practice can bring. Not devastating in the sense of hopeless, but in the sense of, oh, the resolution you've been looking for through this thinking isn't there. It was never going to be there, because what you were looking for cannot be found in a memory. It can only be found here, in this moment, in how you choose to be now. That shift, when it happens, is not dramatic. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough. It feels more like a very quiet letting go, like setting something down that you'd been holding for so long. You stopped noticing the weight. The loop is tight. It is dense with interpretation and judgment and rehearsal. There's no room in it for anything new to arrive, which is why the same thoughts keep cycling. Not because you haven't thought hard enough, but because you've been thinking in a space too small for anything genuinely new to enter. Because the mind caught in this pattern often doesn't recognize itself as caught. It thinks it's being responsible. It thinks it's learning. It tells itself that one more careful pass through, the memory will finally give it the clarity it's been looking for. And maybe it will, you think. Maybe this time. But if you look honestly at how this is going so far, you'll notice something. The thinking doesn't make you feel more prepared for the future. It makes you feel heavier. Your thoughts don't stop, they just get louder. The more you turn the memory over, the more strange and distant it becomes, and the more energy it costs you just to get through a normal day. This is the real cost of papancha. Not just the time it takes, but what it does to your presence. When your mind is back there, it is not here. And everything here, the people in front of you, the work sitting in your hands, the moment you're actually in, becomes a kind of background noise, something you're half aware of. While the real action, the action that feels urgent and unresolved, is happening somewhere else, in a place that only exists in your mind. You're physically present, but you're somewhere else entirely. Buddhism doesn't say this makes you weak or damaged. It says this is what an untrained mind does naturally. Not because something is wrong with you, but because this is simply what the mind does when it hasn't been shown another way. The pattern is almost mechanical. Unpleasant stimulus, mental resistance, attempt to resolve through thinking, more resistance. And it can run for years, quietly, in the background, underneath everything else you're doing. And there is something real in recognizing this. The Buddha said something about this that is almost startling in its directness. He said, "The past has already ceased. The future has not yet come. And what arises in the present is already in the process of passing away." Not as comfort, not as advice, but as a description of what is actually true. The past is not a place. You cannot visit it. You can only visit a mental construction of it, a reconstruction your mind builds from fragments of memory, layered with emotion, filtered through who you are right now. And every time you return to it, you build it slightly differently, because you are slightly different each time. The interpretation shifts. The emotional weight redistributes. What felt like your fault last time feels more ambiguous this time, or more painful, or more confusing. The past you keep visiting isn't even the past. It is a story about the past, one that rewrites itself every time you tell it. And you've been spending hours of your life inside a story that is constantly changing. Here's what nobody tells you about this. The reason the past feels so compelling isn't just because something hurt. It's because your sense of who you are is partially constructed from it. The story of your life includes what happened to you. And if something in that story still feels unresolved or unfair or unclear, your mind keeps going back because it's trying to stabilize itself, trying to find a solid place to stand, trying to make the story make sense so that you can make sense. But here's the problem. That solid ground cannot be found in the past, because the past as you experience it is not solid. It's not even fixed. It shifts every time you examine it. Buddhism has a teaching about the self that speaks directly to this. The concept of anatta, not self. The observation that what we call the self is not the stable, continuous, fixed thing we tend to assume it is. It is a process, a flow, a collection of changing elements that we hold together with narrative. This is not a comforting idea at first, but if you sit with it honestly, something begins to loosen. If the self is not fixed, then the past that defines it is also not fixed, which means you are not permanently shaped by what happened. You are shaped by what you choose to carry forward. And carrying forward is a choice, even when it doesn't feel like one. Even when the carrying has become so automatic that it feels like just the way things are. The grip of this is already loosening. So what does Buddhism actually suggest we do? Not suppression, not forcing yourself to forget, not covering the memory with positive thoughts, the way you'd paint over a water stain on a wall. Buddhism offers something more honest than any of that. It offers recognition. The next time your mind pulls you back, instead of following the thought immediately, you pause. Just for a moment, you notice what's happening. You say, somewhere quietly inside yourself, there it is again. The mind going back, not with frustration, not with self-judgment, not with the added thought of, why do I keep doing this? Just simple, clear recognition. Because the moment you recognize the pattern, you create a small gap, a breath of space between you and the thought. And in that gap, something changes. You are no longer inside the thought. You are watching the thought. And from that position, even briefly, even for just a few seconds, the thought looks different, not as real, not as urgent, not as solid as it felt a moment ago. The Buddha used the word sati for this capacity, usually translated as mindfulness. It is the trained capacity to see clearly what is happening in the mind as it is happening, but not mindfulness as a wellness practice, not mindfulness as a way to feel calmer, mindfulness as clear seeing, the trained ability to observe what the mind is doing without being automatically swept into it. This is not easy to develop. The mind is fast. By the time you notice you've been thinking about the past, you've usually been there for a while already. But over time, with practice, the gap gets a little wider. The recognition comes a little sooner. And the time you spend inside the loop, caught in the echo chamber of the same thoughts, begins to shorten. Not because the thoughts stop coming, they may never stop completely, but because you stop following every one of them, all the way to the end. You begin to see them for what they are. Mental events, not commands, not truths, not windows into who you actually are. Just events, arising and passing the way all events arise and pass. The practice of noticing is simpler than it sounds and harder than it looks, because the mind is not going to suddenly become still. That's not what Buddhist practice promises. Even the most seasoned practitioners have thoughts that pull them back, memories that surface uninvited, old patterns that arrive without warning. What changes is not the arising. What changes is what you do at the moment of arising. Whether you follow or whether you simply see. And seeing, it turns out, is a form of release. Not the only form, not a complete resolution, but a beginning that is always available. Even now, even after years of the same loop, even after you've convinced yourself that this is just how your mind works. And that's the thing about all of this. This isn't about arriving at a place where the past no longer has any weight. It's not about reaching some state of perfect equanimity where nothing that happened before can touch you. That's not the point, and it's not possible anyway. The point is something quieter. It's about developing a different relationship with your own mind, one where you can feel the pull toward the past without automatically following it. One where a memory arises and you can see it clearly, feel whatever is true about it, and then let it move through without building a new story on top of it, without deciding what it means about you, without rehearsing what you should have done, without adding another layer to the echo. Buddhism doesn't ask you to be indifferent to your history. It asks you to stop being imprisoned by your interpretation of it. The past happened. Some of it was genuinely hard. Some of it changed you in ways that are still working themselves out. And some of it still matters in real ways. But it is finished. And here, right now, you are not finished. You are still here, still capable of noticing where your mind goes and choosing, sometimes, to bring it back. Not because the past is irrelevant, but because this moment, the one you're actually in right now, is the only place where anything real can change. That is not a small realization. Sitting with that honestly, really letting it settle, that is one of the most genuinely freeing things Buddhist practice has to offer. The mind that reviews the past is not your enemy. It is a mind that was trying to protect you. It just didn't know when to stop. And you can be patient with it. You can recognize what it was trying to do. And then, gently, without force and without judgment, you can show it another way. You can let the past be what it is. Finished, whole, already complete. And you can be here instead. And one more thing worth sitting with before this ends. There's a particular kind of suffering that comes not from what happened, but from the belief that you should be over it by now. That belief is its own loop. You feel the pull toward the past. Then you judge yourself for feeling it. Then you feel bad about the judgment. Then you go back to the memory, looking for some explanation for why you can't just let it go, and the loop tightens. Buddhism doesn't offer a timeline for this. It doesn't tell you how long is too long to still be affected by something. What it offers instead is a different measure entirely. Not how much time has passed, but how clearly you can see what's happening. Because the path out of past thinking is not through the door of time. It's through the door of awareness. When you can sit with a memory and see it clearly, feel whatever it carries without being overtaken by it. Notice the mind's movement without following every step. Something shifts, not all at once, not permanently, but in moments. Small, genuine moments of clarity that accumulate over time. And those moments are enough. They're enough to remind you that you are not the thought, that you are not the loop, that you are the one who can notice the loop happening. That is the beginning of freedom in Buddhist terms. Not the end of difficulty, not the absence of memory, but the presence of awareness. Steady, quiet, available, even now, even here, even in the middle of all of it. The Buddha said this: you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. And maybe that's where all of this lands. Not in technique, not in practice steps, not even in understanding, but in a simple willingness to be a little gentler with the mind that keeps going back. It was doing its best. It just needs a little help learning another way. And that help, it turns out, begins with something smaller than you'd expect. Just noticing, just pausing, just choosing to be here instead of back there. That's always enough to start with. If something in this landed for you, if this is the kind of space you want to come back to, consider subscribing. Quiet, honest conversations about the mind, grounded in Buddhist wisdom, compassion, and clarity for people who are genuinely trying to see more clearly.